First of all, I'd just like to say this is really cool.
Look, can we just talk about something else, please?
Since it's already quiet, I guess we might as well start the team meeting.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. This is the inaugural episode being recorded live on St. Patrick's Day 2025, and we're about to put a jolt into this league. This group of fellas on right now stuck around late after the stash draft last week, and we decided to start up a weekly podcast to cover the happenings of our fantasy league and Major League Baseball. So without further ado, let's introduce the team. Everyone's going to state their name, their fantasy team name, hometown, and favorite team, and Joe's going to lead us off.
All right. So my name is Joe. I'm the league treasurer. I hold all the money in the league. My fantasy team, Kerry Bonds, Mr. Kerry Carpenter, leading my way through the playoffs. My hometown, I'm from Macomb, and I support the Detroit Tigers. They were making the playoffs this year. They're making a deep run in the playoffs. You heard it here first.
Hot take. All right.
Thanks,
JD,
Joe.
you're next.
Hello, everyone. I'm JD. My fantasy team is the Stephen Hawkings, named after our very own Stephen Hawking, for a reason you'll understand later in the podcast. I'm from Troy, Michigan. I also love the Tigers, and I kind of agree with Joe on the playoffs, but I'm also nervous. So we'll talk about that later as well.
It'll be a good year.
Thanks for having me on, boys.
My pleasure. As they say at Chick-fil-A. All right, Carter.
All right, so my name's Carter. I am the owner of Riztopia. I think that goes without saying. And I'm from Standish, Michigan, a little bit up north from Detroit there. And my favorite team is the Baltimore Orioles, but I have grown fond of the Tigers as well. So rooting for both of those teams coming into the 2025 season here.
All
Love
solid
it.
teams.
All right. I'm Leo Ortel. I'm co-commissioner of the league with John. My fantasy team name is the Lou Collins Heartthrobbers, named after the great Lou Collins, who is one of the main characters in the esteemed flick Little Big League. Fantastic movie. Watched most of it today. I live in Clawson, but grew up in Troy, and diehard Tigers fan. Also think that the Tigers are going to win the division and should make a run in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get right into some predictions in a little bit here. Obviously, the regular season kicks off tomorrow as we're recording this on March 17th. We've got the 6 a.m. tilt down between the Dodgers and Cubs in the Tokyo series. This week's focus on this episode will be just an outlook on the MLB season as a whole, and we'll look to focus a little bit more next week on our specific fantasy league. So just going to jump right in here. We're going to start with the American League. We'll go through some of our own personal predictions for the MLB season. And let's start it off with the AL MVP. And Joe, you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a tight race this year. I think there are a lot of good players in the MLB. I mean, you look at guys like Judge. Hits for average and power. He can put up 60 homers in a year. He can also hit 300. But this year, I think that Bobby Witt Jr. is going to edge him out, and he's going to win his first MVP. He's a great young player. He's got a lot of young talent, and he's got speed. He can steal you 20, 30 bags a year, and hits for power and average as well. I think the Royals are going to be a good team this year, and I think he's going to help lead them by winning that MVP.
I could definitely see it. I'll just go right into my pick as well, since it's the same pick. I've also got Bobby Witt Jr. He is the shortstop on my fantasy team, an absolute steal in last year's draft. I think I got him in the 8th round out of 10. Thought he was definitely going to fall top 3, being a young player. He finished second in the voting last year in the American League. So I think he's poised for another great season. He's solid defensively. He can steal 20, 30 bags. I think he's just going to continue to hit for power. I think Kauffman Stadium is definitely favorable for him as far as those extra base hits being the largest outfield in the league. And I think, yeah, it's just going to carry right over into next season for Bobby Witt.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll jump on that too because I was looking at Bobby as well. And I'd echo everything you guys said. Guy's a stud. But I think there are some like dark horse guys too, just to keep a lookout, just because we got some contract years coming up.
Yeah.
So
It's
one
true.
guy I knew that I was definitely looking at was our good old Vlad Jr.
Mm.
Just as a complete dark horse candidate. Who knows what he'll do this year, but he's on a contract year, and Toronto wasn't really giving him a good deal, so I'd be interested to see how that plays out, or even if he gets traded in the season. So that's we can talk about that more too.
Yeah,
But
I
that was
would
just another thought I had.
I would 100% love to see him have a good contract year and get dealt in like a blockbuster. I think that'd be by far one of the biggest trades to happen within the last, gosh, I would say 10 or 15 years at least at the deadline. Trading a guy like Vladdy, I mean, team could get some real solid pieces. The Blue Jays could walk out of there with 3, 4 guys that could end up being big names. So definitely
Yeah,
agree. Should be fun to watch.
Yeah,
yeah,
look,
some yeah. Go ahead, Leo.
just looking at a guy obviously that's been up there in the top, voting in MVP in the past. He finished second in 2021. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if he's dealt at the deadline. I think a lot of people discounted what he did last season too. I mean, I think he still
Oh
finished in
yeah,
the top 10 in MVP voting, but still like looking at his stats right here, he hit 323, 30 home runs, 103 RBIs, like just a little bit undershadowed, I think, being on a Blue Jays team that struggled in the AL East.
Yeah, completely
definitely
agree.
agree. Never knew he hit 323. He had a bit of a, if I remember correctly, he had a bit of a slow start to the season and then immediately just tore. And it definitely went unnoticed. A lot of guys
Yeah,
looked right past him.
Yeah.
All
yeah,
right,
and the Blue
Carter.
Jays. Go ahead,
Go
Carter.
ahead, JD.
Yo, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just thinking, just because like that's a tough division, so they kind of have to make a decision. I mean, they just signed, um, what's his name? He's on my team, and I'm blanking.
Um,
Santander.
Santander.
Santander,
The Oriole.
because he was like the only guy left over from free agency, and he just got paid. So if Bichette comes back, I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do. So I'm a Blue
Yeah.
Jays fan. I'm nervous, but
For sure.
yeah. Go ahead, Carter.
I hate piggybacking off of Joe and Leo here, but I had Bobby Wood Jr. written down here as well. Just exactly the points you guys were making. I mean, he was incredible last season. Yeah, hits for power, has the speed and everything, just has a great all around, sort of package that the guy has. So, yeah, I'm thinking he's going to get MVP this year for same exact reasons, pretty much that you guys covered there.
It's a full sweep. I think,
Yeah.
we're in an era of baseball where it's really difficult to win an MVP as a pitcher at this point. I mean, you look at the season that Skubal had last year, winning the Triple Crown, still finishes top 10 in MVP voting, but honestly not really in that conversation. So, yeah, I mean, it doesn't surprise me that Witt kind of sweeps amongst this group here. He seems to
Yeah,
definitely be one of the favorites.
going back, touching on what you had just briefly said there about pitchers not really winning MVP too often anymore. I think that's because in today's modern era, we've moved away from like the longevity in a season of a pitcher. I mean, we used to have guys go out there and throw 300 innings, and now 200 innings is something you should be really proud of. I mean, I think the now average is looking closer to like 170. Is it going to keep going down? I mean, I don't know. Maybe 170 is a little low, but I definitely think that strikeout numbers. I mean, look at a guy like Randy Johnson, struck out over 300 in a season, and last year Scooble had 218. Put together a great season still. But I mean, that's like over 100 strikeout difference.
Yeah.
Definitely
Big
something
time.
to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the case for Judge?
I think it's going to be a little bit tougher just not having Soto in that lineup. I think there's definitely some uncertainties at this point. I mean, recent news, Goldschmidt struggling with, I think, a back issue is what I saw. It just came out a few
Wow.
minutes ago. I mean, I think
Mhm.
there's just a lot of questions on what the Yankees can do from a lineup standpoint. Now, you could argue, well, without Soto, Judge kind of has to step up and produce a little bit more, but 58 homers and 144 RBIs is going to be hard to, I think, replicate this season, especially that RBI number when you don't have a guy like Soto in that lineup to hit around you and to be able to, you know, drive
Yeah,
him
get on
in
base in
or
front of you too.
drive you in. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the odds, this is going off of VegasInsider.com. Judge has a plus 325 currently to win the AL MVP. Bobby Witt's plus 500. Then guess who's third?
Ooh, that's tough. I think there are a lot of candidates. Like if I were to guess right now, I say J Ram. I think
He's
he's
top
been
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's top 5.
Is it
He's
Gunnar
bottom 3.
Henderson?
mm.
He's 4.
So we've guessed
I wouldn't
four
have
and
picked this
five.
guy to be third in based
Is
on odds. Based on odds, like betting
is it
odds.
Vladdy?
No.
Yeah.
Jordan
Yeah.
plus 100.
Really?
Oh,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Who was it?
Jordan Alvarez.
Okay.
that's I don't know.
It's just odds. It's Vegas, so it's not like,
Right.
yeah,
I mean, I don't think I necessarily like disagree. I think he's a really complete hitter when he's healthy. I think he's had some injury struggles. I think he did last
yeah,
year, and if not the year before as well.
Yep.
And I mean, if you're weighing defense at all, not much of a defender if he plays it. If he's DH, that's fair, but I don't know. I'd put him
yeah,
closer to like 6 or 7.
Yeah.
yeah. I agree with that. But if
All
you're looking
right.
to make 100, $700,
I'm placing it right now.
yeah,
All right, let's jump into the Cy Young picks.
we didn't do NL. We're
We'll do
doing all
NL a
AL.
little bit later.
Okay,
Okay.
So we'll run through all of AL for the awards, the division winners, and then we'll just jump right into NL. So,
cool.
Carter, you start us off with your Cy Young pick
For what league?
for the American League.
Uh, Gotta go with the Scoob on this one for sure. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I don't even have to explain that one. Just an incredible pitcher. I had an incredible season, last year, and yeah, I definitely think he's winning it for this season. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy pick. I'd throw Crochet in the mix there with the Red Sox, even DeGrom if he's healthy
Yeah.
with the Rangers. But yeah, it's hard to not pick Scooble here. He's a stud.
It was hard for me. As much as I wanted to pick Scoob for a back to back, I I don't think I could take it. I think there was bias there. I went with the second best lefty in the league, in my opinion, Garrett Crochet. I think him
Good
joining.
job, Joe, on recognizing
Yeah,
and confirming your bias, and I
I
appreciate
I
you bringing
I
that out.
immediately I had the name and then I had to cross it off. Do I think he can easily do it again? Yeah, but I had to go Crochet. Him going from a White Sox team that is utterly pitiful to a now revamped Red Sox team with a lot of great talent on it, with Devers, with Casas. You signed
Bregman.
Bregman. Um, I definitely think it puts him in a much better situation, and I think it gives him more confidence. And as long as he doesn't have injuries this year and they don't limit him too much, I think the Cy Young is his.
Now, Joe, I'm gonna call you out on another bias because I know he's on your fantasy team. So
Uh, I I plead the fifth.
Smart
I
man. Smart man.
decline.
Gotcha.
So did I see that the Red Sox named Walker Buehler their opening day starter over Crochet? And if so, what are we doing, Boston?
I did not see that.
Yeah,
Really?
I didn't see that, but I
Maybe he's
completely believe it.
an opener.
I mean, it wouldn't shock me because I think Boston may not have the best when it comes to leadership, but I think that it is. I mean, I think they're hoping Bueller has a year like his probably first year in the league. Does it happen? I don't know, but I think that's what they're hoping for, and that's why they're giving him opening day.
All
Maybe they
right,
want him to
I'll,
have more
I'll
confidence.
interject here. I'm off. This probably was like a rumor on X or something, but Crochet was named the starter,
Oh, okay.
which makes perfect sense. I
Yeah.
think
I mean, yeah,
he's the obvious choice to
Yeah.
start opening day.
yeah. I think Bueller's a great too, though.
Bunch of crazy Bostons.
All
So
right.
I'm gonna stick with the theme of the lefties
Make
here,
it
but
smart.
I'm gonna go out of the box. I was feeling the bias as well as far as rooting for Scoob again. I think he can do it. It's so hard to go back to back and have like a consistent season.
I have a feeling I know who your guy is.
And we're going right back to the fantasy team bias here, but I'm going to go with
Yep.
Cole Reagans of the
Oh,
Kansas City Royals. He led the American League in strikeouts per nine last year. I think his win-loss record can definitely improve. I think the Royals are a really solid team. He was 11-9 last year. That to me doesn't really add up. I mean, he had
no.
223 strikeouts in 186 innings, a 10.8 strikeouts per nine. Um, it just makes too much sense that um, I think he can have an even better season, lower that ERA maybe just a little bit, but the win losses are bound to, I think, tilt in his favor this year with the momentum that the Royals are carrying.
Real quick,
Yeah.
I definitely I definitely agree with you. Reagan's was not the name I was thinking of, but talk about a guy that I feel like before last year was a relatively no-name guy. I mean, he was on I believe, the Rangers before the Royals, and I had never heard his name until a couple starts in the last year, and was leading in a couple categories, and he just carried that throughout the season. So
Hmm.
very good pick there. Definitely, definitely a guy I was not thinking of, but I like the pick. Um, quick dark horse. Thought of another lefty. There's a lot of good lefties in the American League. How about Max Fried? He's now the ace of that team with Garrett Cole out.
Hmm.
Why not him? Could lead the league.
I think it's a good point. It's going to be a challenging ballpark adjustment, perhaps, for him to pitch in. I mean, I think Truist is still somewhat hitter friendly, but obviously Yankee Stadium with
Yeah.
the shorter walls is going to be a little bit more challenging for him to pitch in. And I think it's a tough division to pitch in general, especially just looking at the other lineups. Like the Jays, as we talked about, got a little bit better. Um, the Orioles have a lot of young talent. The Red Sox bolstered their team, so um, yeah, it's I hope Fried has a good year again. He's on my fantasy team. I'm hoping he has a good season. I could see him as a dark horse candidate, though. I mean, you're looking at a guy with a really good track record.
For
Yeah,
sure.
he's
For
gonna
sure.
have to
For
anchor
sure.
that rotation with all the injuries. So
Right.
yeah. But of note, odds in the AL Cy Young,
Yeah. What do
School's
we get?
top one, then Crochet, then Reagan. So yeah.
Through the top three, Adam.
Yeah.
I mean, Garrett Cole would have been right up there. I think had he not
Oh yeah.
been out for the season, getting Tommy John,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's
I
disappointing.
think that ends up.
Huge
I think
blow.
that ends up hurting the Yankees a lot more than people are gonna think.
Yeah, it's a huge blow for sure.
Hmm.
I think there's a couple other dark horses out there. I mean, I think you could name anybody pretty much on that Seattle rotation. Could definitely get up there. Framber is also a solid, another lefty going to that theme of lefties. Framber Valdez of the Astros. So it's definitely there's a lot of good pitchers in the American League, and it'll be interesting to see who comes away with the Cy Young.
Completely agree.
All right.
Definitely Emmanuel Clase's got it this year, guys. Plus 20,000 Put a buck on it.
Yeah,
Put a buck on
too
it.
bad he'll never enter the Hall of Fame because of his performance enhancing drug use in the minor leagues.
Ooh.
Alrighty, shall we shift to the rookie of the year?
Same odds as Alex Cobb, by the way.
The same odds as Alex Cobb. That's
Yeah, dude.
crazy. That's wild.
That's
That
pretty
should be illegal.
That's none of my business. All right, let's talk AL Rookie of the Year. JD, start us off this time.
Ooh, dude, the rookie of the year one was tough for me. I don't even know because I feel like all these rookies, it's like picking a name out of a hat a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, can't help but be excited about Jackson Jobe, but that's another thing. I mean, I don't know what Dominguez is gonna look like with the Yankees, and there's Jackson Holiday, but he kind of started out slow, so um. I don't even know. Can someone skip me? Can you come back to me? Because I have put like a few names down and I can't decide. My ADHD brain is having a hard time here. So, Joe, back to you. What do you got?
All right. Well, JD mentioned my pick. I think it's gonna be Dominguez. I think he's gonna figure it out on offense. Not that he's had a bad offensive start, but I think he's really gonna come into his own. Switch hitter. You gotta love that. Gotta love that he's hitting at Yankee Stadium. There are definitely negatives going against him. He looks completely lost in left field. He looks like he's never touched a baseball glove before when he plays sometimes. If he
Is he in left or is he in
figures
center? Are they putting him?
Left.
they're
Okay.
playing him in left. I think if they put him in center, I think he does better. He cannot read the ball in left field to save his life.
For what it's
But if
worth,
he
yeah, I mean, Riley Green talked about the transition from center field to left field, and he thinks that it's a little bit more difficult to get a read on a fly ball in left field than it is in center.
right, that's what I was seeing.
Thank you, Riley.
I definitely think that if he even remotely has a mediocre time in left field, I think he can easily walk away with the rookie of the year this year with his bat alone. Will it happen? I don't know. I think there are a lot of good names out there, but
Points, Joe.
that's where I'm going.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Joe. Jason Dominguez is also my pick, the Martian. I love that he's a switch hitter, like you mentioned, at Yankee Stadium. He's shown off a little bit of power in spring training. You've got Stanton out. You lost Juan Soto. There's a spot for him without a doubt, even if it is, limited reps in left field and you throw him at DH here and there. I think even though he's young, that's the type of player that if he's struggling in the field, let him figure it out with the stick, throw him at DH. So yeah, Jason Dominguez is also my pick.
Copy you guys yet again. I wrote down Dominguez as well. Just that I gotta say with this pit though, like doing my research and stuff, I was not really confident picking him. Like I felt, it was like, all right, Dominguez. I kind of felt like meh picking him, but he did awesomely get my pick for the rookie of the year. He's doing okay right now in spring training. 256 right now, and he has had some, top MLB experience already going into the season, so he's got a little bit of that pro experience already, and I just think his ceiling's, really high, and like I think Joe was saying that like it's his time to prove himself now that Soto's out. So he's got that pressure on his shoulders too, and so I think he's going to do pretty good this year, Yankee Stadium there.
Well, I'll be the unique one. I'll just pick Jackson Jobe just because then
I like
guy's
the
got
pick.
good stuff. So let's see how that plays. Hopefully.
Yeah, does he have a
might as well.
rotation spot is the real question. I was just watching an AJ Hinch interview, and you've got a few guys fighting for a couple spots. Cater Montero, Jackson Jobe, Kenta Maeda, and I think Manning's out of the equation there. at this point.
I think Brant Herter might be fighting.
Yeah, he could be up there as well.
Yeah.
So,
Now, does that ultimately put like who's your 4 in that situation, real quick? Because your 1 is Scoob, your 2 is Flaherty, your 3 is Olson, your 4th Mize.
I think of those
Yeah.
guys, based on what they've done in spring training, it has to be Casey. I mean, to me,
I mean, he's had a
he's already
dominant
got the
spring.
4th spot, so it's like the 5th spot you're looking at. You're looking at the rest of the group, and I think
Mhm.
it could be Job, but I could also see them starting him down in AAA. I mean, if Cobb was healthy, Cobb is the obvious 4 or 5,
Right.
interchangeable with Mize, but at this point, it's great that we have this kind of competition, and
Right.
that Matt Manning has now fallen out of that equation too. Because you turn around to last year, the year before, Manning was one of those fringe guys. They had already sent him down at this point, um, back to minor league camp. So he's out of that equation. I think it shows the growth in our depth year over year.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I was listening to part of a radio interview with AJ Hinch, and they were saying, if Job doesn't make the starting rotation, are you considering putting him in the pen? And Hinch was like, no, it's a rotation, or he starts the year in AAA to polish up his stuff. So I like that. I like that they have a plan, and they're not just going to throw him anywhere. And they're going to let him develop if he still needs it, and if not, he's going to get the chance to prove himself on the big stage.
Yeah.
I feel like if he does start at AAA, it'd be like max 2 months. Like I don't think it'd be too long.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess it
I
depends
mean,
on how
Skeen's
that 5th
starting
guy
AAA,
does.
so
Right. Right.
different
Definitely. I mean,
situation, but still.
right. And it is a great
Definitely.
situation to have.
Yeah.
Definitely a good situation. Rather
Especially
have
with
too many than
injuries,
not
like
enough.
guy gets injured, called up,
Right.
So
Right.
I'm gonna go with Job just to mix it up.
I like it. I like
Fair
it.
enough.
I
But
haven't paid
Dominguez was
attention.
top on odds there for you guys, so #1.
Yeah.
Good pick.
I haven't paid attention to Casey's stats. How is he looking in spring training?
Hasn't allowed a run yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
He's looking phenomenal. Now, does that transfer to the regular season? I hope, but I don't know.
I don't put too much weight into spring training numbers.
No.
No.
They can be great in spring training, and you suck at the start of the year. Or it can be the complete opposite too.
Exactly.
Like
But
Exactly.
his
Yeah.
velo's up, his splitter seems to be back. So I mean, he's
Yeah.
striking guys out. He's making guys look silly on splitters in the dirt, which is promising. But yeah, no, you can't put too much weight on what they're doing in spring training. But it's easy to forget that Casey Mize was a #1 overall pick.
Yeah, you really like him to get
Hopefully
back to
figure it
that
out.
#1 pick. Actually, prove it. Prove to me you deserve to be that #1 pick.
It's
Hopefully.
hard not to have hope if he's dealing like that.
Prove to me, Casey. Prove to me in my parents' basement.
And with that, we're going to take a break and hear from one of our sponsors.
Welcome to Pet Plus. This is for the animals. We have dogs, snakes, dog food, fish. We have everything. Meet our 2 friends here today that came to Pet Plus to help us build our business and help them get together. This gorilla and this gentleman, you need them for a show, they'll be there. Stay tuned. You'll never know when you need a fish or something, or we're here right here on New Brunswick Circle, and hey, hire them for your birthday parties, everything else. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to our sponsor there. Let's get into the 2025 American League Division winner picks. I'm going to actually start us off.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to run through these straight, starting with the NL West, going with the Rangers. I think they're going to have a nice bounce back. World Series a couple years ago. I think the division has weakened a little bit. I like the Mariners pitching staff, but Astros have weakened. Don't think the Mariners quite have the lineup. Angels didn't add enough to really be competitive. I think it's going to be the Rangers.
I like it. I actually have the Rangers finishing second to your Seattle Mariners. I think the pitching staff is good enough to hopefully carry them. The offense, I think Randy needs to turn it around. And last year with the Mariners, he was extremely underwhelming. I think this year, if he has a good year like he had in Tampa a few times, I think the Mariners can take it.
Also went with the Rangers. That's all I got. They
I
got
like
a
it.
heck of an offense.
Yeah, they do.
Who do you got in the West, Carter?
Yeah, I didn't really look at this. I thought we were doing league winners that division. But just looking quick here, I'd probably go with the Rangers too. For some reason, I got a good feeling about the A's though this year. I think they're gonna
Sneaky
compete a
wild card
little.
team.
They're not gonna win it, but I think they're gonna be all right. I don't know.
I can see it. I can see them winning. How many games did they win last year? Anybody know?
More than you'd think. I think if you start the clock at a certain point, second half of the season, they had one of the best records in the American
Really?
League. So
I think they can win 80 this year.
Yeah,
I think it'll be tough, but I think they
I
can do
think
it.
Lawrence Butler is gonna have a fantastic season this upcoming year.
Larry Butler.
Larry Butler.
they were
Alright.
69 and 93 last year. So not too hot, but they still bested the Angels.
And that is a huge
Easy.
feat. They essentially bested Mike Trout injured and
Zach Neto.
Anthony Rendon not
Rendon.
playing a game ever again.
Yeah. All right. AL Central.
It's got to be the Tigers. So much bias. Royals are going to be tough. I think you got four really solid teams in the division. I'm most worried about the Royals than probably the Guardians. But the Tigers, I feel like we talked about their pitching depth a little bit earlier in the episode. I think they have a little bit more depth hitting wise as well going into this season, just with a couple of the young guys that were able to kind of step up last year and kind of come out of nowhere. I mean, even just like you look at a guy like Wenzel Perez, like borderline wasn't going to be making the roster if Vierling and Meadows were out, but he could be your center fielder starting for opening day, and it's not a bad guy to throw in the outfield to kind of have as your fourth or fifth string outfielder in a fully healthy depth chart.
Yeah, I'm going to piggyback off that. I definitely am biased, but I think the Tigers have a good shot of winning it this year. And I'm going to throw in a hot take with it. The Guardians are not going 500 this year. They're going to finish under 500. I think it's a race essentially between the Tigers and the Royals, and I think the Tigers edge them out. I think the Tigers have better pitching overall, and I think that's what helps boost them.
So why are the Guardians below 500 this year, Joe?
They didn't really make any moves, and they lost Alex Cobb, your ace. So I don't.
Right.
I mean, I don't know how you can compete when you lose a guy like Alex Cobb. It throws a lot of questions in there for me.
Well, you guys have heard of the curse of the Bambino, right?
Right.
How about the curse of Josh Naylor? You can't trade a guy whose brother is on the team and arguably probably your second or third best hitter behind Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan. I mean, you just lost your powerhouse dude, clubhouse guy, spark in the lineup. That to me, that trade did not make any sense.
I mean, besides Jose Ramirez, you essentially have no one that has power in that lineup. Steven Kwan is a great average guy. Yeah, J Ram has some power. He can put up a 40-40 season. But other than that, you don't really have much power. You lost your spark plug, and damn was he a spark plug, hitting himself in the head with helmets. He was the guy that brought your team alive, and you lose him, not going 500. Nope.
It's the curse of Josh Naylor. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now.
That's it. I like it.
Any other thoughts there on the Central?
Yeah, Carter, who do you got for Central? JD, Central, anybody?
I was thinking the Guardians just because of their track record. Stephen Vogt, manager of the year. That bullpen is really good. They've got some starters in there. Offensively, I don't know how much of. I feel like they're very even. Like the Tigers and the Guardians, in my opinion. With the Tigers offense, you kind of have to have a lot of guys step up and perform that could also not step up and perform. So it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of a toss up for me between like Guardians, Royals, Tigers, and I don't know. So I definitely can see the Tigers winning it. I could also see the Guard. It's like one of those divisions that, yeah, I don't know. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with my pick, my tentative Guardians pick. I still think the Tigers can get in the playoffs, but I'm hesitant still. I don't know. Maybe that's me hedging my bias, as we've been the theme of the episode.
Yeah, I
But
want to be biased towards the Tigers too. This division seems completely up in the air. It's tough. Yeah, with the Royals and the Guardians. I agree. It's tough looking. There's a lot of pros and cons to each. That yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a clear winner for myself.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that the Guardians are somewhat of a concern. We haven't talked a whole lot about the Twins. Like I mentioned, for me, it's the Royals. And it's not even their lineup that's necessarily scary. It's that pitching staff. Yeah, you got Reagans, you got Lugo, Waka, all coming off of really excellent seasons. We finished with the exact same record as them last year. The Twins could come up and be a sleeper again. I mean, they fell apart in the second half, but they still have most of the same bones on that roster there. So yeah, I agree with you, Carter. I think it's totally up in the air.
That's fair. And the last division, the AL East.
The Beast of the East.
I go first.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I'm kind of all in on the Red Sox this year.
I couldn't agree more. That was
Yeah.
my pick. I
The
think they made great
Yankees-
moves.
Yeah, the Yankees, like, they have pitching injuries coming up here. You hope, you gotta somehow replace Soto with, old man first baseman, what's his name? I'm blanking on his name.
Goldschmidt.
Goldschmidt.
Goldie.
Hope Belly does something. Dominguez has, promise, obviously, but yeah, I just love that
Bellinger.
starting rotation, adding Bregman, and you got the young guys coming up through the system. Yeah, that's exciting team for me, and like, and the Orioles are in there, but their starting rotation has too many question marks for me. Grayson Rodriguez is hurt. Yeah, so that's kind of my pick.
You want to elaborate on the Orioles there, Carter?
Yeah, I want to say they're in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still hopeful and excited for the Orioles. Yeah, I mean, if I'm being biased, that's who I'm picking for this division. But that's heavy bias there. I mean, obviously they have a fantastic, their whole lineup of hitters is just incredible. I think they're gonna. I know they fell apart in the second half of 2024 there, like the entire team did pretty much, hitting wise, as a collective there. But I think they're gonna really pull it together. They're gonna learn from their mistakes from last year, what was going on. I don't know what was going on. Like, it seemed like they were just constantly trying to go for home runs and stuff instead of like singles and doubles. And I think they've learned a lot, and it's shown that in spring training, especially with at least Adley Rutschman. I know Gunnar got injured, so we haven't really seen much of him in spring training yet. But you could definitely tell Adley's changed, going kind of back to his 2023 form. So I think the Orioles are going to be outstanding hitter wise. It is just that pitching. It's looking really rough right now. Like JD was saying, with Grayson, with that injury, they're very bare bones right now with pitching. Thankfully, someone, I think you stashed him, Leo, Sugano, the Japanese pitcher. He is older. He's, I think, 35 years old, but he's looked absolutely incredible spring training. I think, what I write down here. Yeah, I mean, 10 scoreless innings, 5 hits, 0 runs, 3 walks, 11 strikeouts. Has a great splitter, cutter, slider. I think he's extremely underrated, and I think the fan base was a little too angry when they signed him. But I think he was a really good addition, and it's probably going to carry a lot more than predicted with that Orioles pitching. But yeah, I got to go with the Orioles pick here for the division just because it is biased, I admit, but I'm going to have to go with that pick.
As much as I do like the Orioles, it's tough when your opening day starter is Zach Eflin.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you just traded Adley.
And you lost Burns.
So
you traded
Yeah,
Adley in the league. You lost Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. But I mean, as cool as it was to watch Eflin get that opening day start and his daughters make the announcement to him, you know, he's an older guy. It doesn't really bring much to the table, so it hurts.
Yeah, I know. It does hurt. I'm feeling the pain.
For me, it's Boston as well. I liked them before they signed Bregman, and Bregman to me just pushes them over the edge. I mean, we haven't even brought up Jaron Duran's name. I think Walker Buehler is going to have a really nice season. Don't think that the Yankees have enough with losing Cole. I mean, Cody Bellinger is another addition that they made, which I actually really like as far as going to Yankee Stadium. I think he could hit 40 home runs. That would be, a bold prediction there. But no, I mean, the Red Sox they look pretty solid top to bottom. Even just the addition of like Aroldis Chapman at the back end of their bullpen, I think that's a nice add as well. So yeah, for me, it's Boston. I don't know. Rays are always somehow kind of in the mix, but I just don't think that they're kind of ending up like the A's, just not really spending any money. I mean, the one player they spend money on, obviously, we know what happened to Wander Franco.
How that one ended.
He shall not be named.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, they're a year or two away, probably.
Yeah.
And the Rays are going to that temporary stadium, right?
Yeah.
This year. And so, I mean, if they had a stellar pitching staff, it'd be fine. But with their pitching staff, I think that might be pretty brutal for them.
And that's
McClanahan.
They have McClanahan. They have Boz.
Yep.
Yeah.
Other than that,
Drew Rasmussen.
Jeffrey Springs.
Yeah.
Is Zach Littell still on the team?
I think he is. I think he's still on that team.
Old Zach Little. L.
All right, well, that's going to wrap it up for the American League. And I think we're going to get into the National League.
Let's do it.
Yep.
All right, quick round robin style. National League MVP picks. Let's everyone go around, name the guy that they selected, then we can break it down.
I am picking the childish Bambino, Juan Soto.
Ooh. What do you got, JD?
Should I go with my, dark horse?
Why not?
Let's just, contract year, Kyle Tucker. Let's see it.
I like it.
For fun. Let's see it, Kyle. Step up, Kyle.
Mine's more of like a feel-good pick, too. Like, everything in me says Ohtani, but, I don't want to see him win it again, so I'm going Elly De La Cruz. I think if he can cut down a little bit on the strikeouts, even if he raises the batting average up into the 270s, if he steals 60 bases again, 50-plus bases, then to me, with that combination of speed and power as a shortstop, could set him apart. So he's still really young. He might be more like a year away kind of guy from serious top 3 contention, but I like Elly De La Cruz going into this season.
Yeah, and mine's gonna be that obvious pick, Shohei. Dude's just a monster. You can't stop him. I don't want to pick him either, like Leo said. It doesn't feel good, but I mean, yeah, this is the obvious choice there for sure. Just being practical about it. It's probably gonna be him.
My only question mark with Shohei is, I know if he's gonna be pitching, apparently he might not run as much this year, so
Oh,
Fields might be down a little bit.
okay.
I think that's what Dave Roberts said. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out. I don't know how much he's going to pitch, when he's going to start pitching, or if, what the load is going to be like for him. And I feel like when you're doing two different jobs, that opens you up to more, risk of injury too. So who knows? But
Yeah.
That's a great point.
Dark horse, I'll throw him in the ringer there. Jackson Merrill. I could see him having another solid season. I think he's got that nice combination of speed. Seems to play the outfield pretty well. Just has got that raw, sneaky power. Like you look at the dude and you're like, this doesn't look like much of a power hitter, but he's got a lot of power on that bat. And you look at a team like the Padres, and we'll get into this a little bit later too, but they kind of need somebody to step up to compete in that division, I think. And Merrill could be the guy.
Yeah, I agree. I think another, not necessarily a dark horse, but a guy that I think gets overlooked a lot lately with the younger talent in the National League is Bryce Harper. Consistently a great player year over year, and I mean he gets overlooked because of guys like Ohtani, but he could easily win it. He's now at first base like he was last year, so definitely could see him coming out hitting 40 plus, batting 280, 290, and walking away with it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Let's roll right into the Cy Young picks. What do you got?
I said can't count out that hair.
You can't do it.
No.
All right, let's go round robin style again for Cy Young picks. Carter, you start.
So this is for the NL?
NL Cy Young.
I gotta go with Paul Skeens here. I think he was third, like the third person voted for last year for the Cy Young. But I think he has a good chance of getting it this year. I mean, he's just so young, and what was his ERA last year? Like 1.96. I mean, that's just insane. And because of his age, I mean, it's only up from here. I know, like, the team he's surrounded by, it's not the best. But I have a gut feeling that he's going to get the pick for that.
Yep, Skeens is my pick as well. Got the biases on my fantasy team. I will say I got him in the 20th round of our draft last year out of 23 rounds. I'm always going to be proud of that.
That's incredible.
But yeah, I mean, you're looking at a guy who just eclipsed the 20 start mark last year, 23 starts. If he stays healthy and he gets 30 starts, I think there's a couple other guys you can argue that could be up there as well. But with those types of strikeout numbers and the control that he has in the strike zone, for me, it's Paul Skeens, no question.
I had to go with Olivia Dunn. I picked Skeens too. Sorry, Joe, I cut you off there. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, it's hard not to pick him. He added a few pitches too, so that's gonna be interesting. But yeah, Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, I put down Skeens as well, but I'm going to switch it last minute. So I got to be different here. So I think that the guy that has the next best odds in my eyes is Zach Wheeler. I think he could have won it last year. I think the dude is an ace. I think it was between him and Chris Sale last year. I think Chris Sale had every right to win it. I definitely think he edged him out, but I think Wheeler's been so consistent for so long, and if he manages to stay healthy and starts 200 plus innings and pitches gems like he has in the past, I can see Wheeler walking away with it.
So I just want to get this straight. Not Rhett Lowder.
No, Rhett Lowder is not gonna win the Cy Young next year. But he is placing top 6 in 2025. Top 6 in Cy Young. And then this is way down the line.
Wait, you said top 6 in 2025.
Yeah, top 6
season.
Yeah, he's placing top 6. He's not winning it.
Just want to clarify.
He's going top 6. Yeah,
even though he's like out injured
that
right
down.
No, it's recorded now, Carter.
The injury is not. The injury's not a big deal.
You got to make sure this doesn't get lost. We have 3 witnesses.
I've looked into the injury. It's not a big injury. He's going to be back in a couple weeks. Not worried about it. Rhett Lowder's placing top 6 this year in Cy Young. 2026, he is winning Cy Young. It's way down the line,
Okay.
but I'm getting out in front of it.
Yeah. Just for context for our listeners, a week ago, Joe made a bold prediction about Rhett Lowder, and he's pretty confident about it. So
He's the future of
I'm holding
baseball,
to it.
people.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens, who?
I honestly, I hope
Rhett
you're right.
Lowder.
Just so you can, this would be hilarious. We
Yeah.
can look back on this in 365 days, or however the season, 162 games.
Right.
And,
And I'll be right. I'll be right.
yeah.
And with that, let's move on to the Rookie of the Year.
I also like Corbin Burns. He's cool too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Corbin's
And
Go ahead.
Yamamoto as well. I could.
Yep.
If he stays healthy. NL Rookie of the Year, Roki Sasaki. I don't think that there's quite. I don't think there's any competition. I really don't. He's a stud.
Yeah, you're probably right.
He's on a team that's going to win games. He only has to throw 5 or 6 innings like Blake Snell, his now teammate, to win the Cy Young. He doesn't even have to pitch probably 175 innings to win the Cy Young. He can pitch 150 innings, win 10 games, have a sub-3, strike out 180 batters, and he could win the Cy Young.
Yeah. I agree. The only other guy, I don't know enough about this guy, but I kind of am buying in a little bit on the Cubs with Matt Shaw here, just because he's going to be with the team to start, so that shows some signs. He's got a position at third base, so I don't know. Who knows about that kid, but I'm just throwing his name out there just for fun.
Carter, who you got?
I'll do the dark horse here then, I guess. My first dark horse. I'll do Dylan Cruz. So I'm going with the hitter there. He kind of like Jason Dominguez. He's already got a little bit of that MLB experience. He's batting 306 right now in spring training, so not too shabby. And I know like he's at the top of a lot of prospect lists. I know there's a lot of hype with him and everything, but I think he's got a really, really high ceiling. So I'm expecting him to do pretty big things this year. And I heard that last year Sasaki had like a right shoulder issue last season. So I guess I'm a little concerned about that with him going into the season. And obviously throwing at the really big high velocity that he's throwing those balls always runs the risk of injury, so I don't know. I'm not sure if he stays healthy the whole season. So I guess Dylan Cruz is going to be my pick there for that one.
So a question for you, Carter. If you would have had #1 pick in the stash draft, given those concerns that you just addressed, would you have taken him?
I think I still would have taken him. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Carter. My pick is Dylan Cruz as well. I think he edges out Sasaki. I think Sasaki has a tough start to the season. I think he has a couple starts where he doesn't look his best. And I think that is going to be the difference between him and Dylan Cruz and who wins Rookie of the Year.
Fair enough. All good takes. Love to hear a couple other guys thrown in the mix. All right, let's go NL Division winner picks. I'm going Mets for the East. It's such a good division. I love the Braves. I love the Phillies. There's something about that division that I just love. I'm representing the East right now with the Marlins. They obviously have no chance, but it's just fun teams to watch, powerhouse teams. But I think with the obvious addition in Juan Soto, some of the bullpen depth, that they're able to add. It just feels like a more solidified roster this year.
I think the Braves just edge out the Mets. It's close. I think it's like 1 or 2 games to separate them. Braves come out on top.
Definitely both playoff teams, or otherwise, sure. I think something went drastically wrong. Like
right,
you look at the Braves last year with Strider and Acuna going down. I think they still made the playoffs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, was that the last game of the season thing, right?
I think it was.
Yeah.
So
I gotta agree with Joe there, though. I think I choose the Braves, but I mean, between the Braves, the Mets, and the Phillies, that's going to be neck and neck until the end for sure.
I'll just pick the Phillies for fun then.
Me too. I think any one of them really has a shot to win it between those three. Obviously, I think the Marlins and the Marlins are kind of a pitiful franchise, if you ask me. Sorry about the wear you got there, Leo.
Yeah.
That one hurts because I think they have some of the sickest throwback stuff, but they're pretty pitiful. So
All right, Central.
Low right now.
Central, in my mind, it is the Cincinnati Reds. I think they got a good young core, and I think they're only going to improve on it. I think Milwaukee is hurt by losing Adames. I think he had a bigger impact than people probably think. He had power, and I think they lose a good chunk of that power. Yelich, if he's injured, that's going to really hurt him. So I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds.
That could be a hotter take than Rhett Lowder top 6 Cy Young.
Yeah.
That I did not expect.
I think they do that with Rhett Lowder hitting the Cy Young Award. Both of
That's
those
why I
have to
picked-
be true, Joe.
And they both will come true. You wait and see.
I
I
do
can't
like
wait.
Hunter Green. I think JD,
Yeah.
you have Hunter Green, right?
Yeah, he's a stud.
That is a fantastic pitcher right there. He's underrated. For me, it was between the Cubs and the Brewers. I kind of went back and forth on this for a few weeks, but I'm gonna have to go with the Cubs. Yeah, I think Adames that's a tough loss for the Brewers there. They added Nestor Cortez. They always seem to have somewhat of solid pitching, but I don't know. I like Jackson Churio a lot. I like Yelich. But Kyle Tucker to me is the most underrated ad of the offseason, obviously on more of a rental deal. They weren't able to lock him up. Not sure if they will be able to, but you're looking at probably a top 5 hitter in the National League, top 10 hitter in the MLB right there. And I think he can be a huge difference maker for that roster. I mean, I know they wanted Bregman, that you could argue they kind of missed out on him too, as did the Tigers, but I like the Cubs in the Central.
I'm liking the Cubs too. I gotta agree with Leo there. For the points he's made, and then I think Pete Crow Armstrong and Matt Shaw. I think they're 2 rookies who are going to really step up this season too. I think JD was talking about Matt Shaw a little bit earlier there, and yeah, he's looking incredible. And so is Pete there too. So I think those 2 rookies are really going to boost the team as well, along with Tucker. So yeah, I gotta go with the Cubs.
Yeah. I was thinking Cubs as well. It's hard not to pick the Brewers just because they have kind of a track record of owning that division, and just kind of, even though they don't do well in the playoffs, like, pretty good track record there. But yeah, if I'm gonna go with my Kyle Tucker pick for MVP, I feel like that follows up. So I guess I'm in on the Cubs and the Red Sox this year.
Yeah, I think the pitching's got to step up a little bit for the Cubs. Like, I think
Yeah, for
Imanaga's
sure.
going to have another good year, but you got to have like Taillon step up. Justin Steele kind of had a down year compared to 2023, so I
He's
think
hurt too.
if those guys can step up a little bit, I think it could be a better year in the Windy City.
We shall see. Go Cubs, go. Go Cubs.
And now for the, in my opinion, most boring.
Let's just
division
pencil it
baseball,
in right now.
The NL West.
Makes me
The
angry.
Rockies.
It's something about the high elevation. They're going to hit a lot of home runs.
That
You wanna
dry
hear
air,
a
I'm
hot take,
telling you.
boys?
Brenton Doyle, here he comes.
You thought Cincinnati was a crazy pick.
Nolan Jones, come back here.
Is it? I mean,
Chris
I don't
Bryant.
even want to talk much about the Dodgers. We know what they have. Like, who's gonna grab second in that division? Because to me, you look at the Diamondbacks, they add a couple of big pieces there. We already talked about the
Burnsy.
curse of Josh
Burns.
Naylor. You add Corbin Burns.
Yeah.
Do the Padres have enough to get second in that division? I think the answer is no.
I think the answer could be yes if they still have Dylan Cease. If you keep Cease for the whole year and you don't deal him, I think you have a much better shot.
What do you think are the chances are of them keeping him?
I think it depends on how their season starts. If they are bad from the start, or not necessarily bad, but if they're not living up to what they know they can do, they're going to deal him at the deadline.
Gotcha.
Coming off a 93 win season, I highly doubt they're going to surpass that total. Um, I don't know. I like Arise. I like Tatis. We also talked about Jackson Merrill a little bit too. Machado. I mean, they've got a solid lineup, but yeah, I mean, if a couple things go wrong for them just because of how tough that division is with the powerhouse of the Dodgers and even the Giants, I think could be solid as well. I could see them dealing a couple of their pitchers at the deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Dodgers division to lose, essentially.
Yeah, 100%.
They're gonna win it 10 times out of 10 if you simulate it. So
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take another quick break here, and we will finish off this week's episode with our random predictions. Stay tuned.
You want one of these? There's only one place to get it.
Who's got jerseys in the team? Fanatic U! Who's got all your favorite teams? Fanatic U! Who's got all the gear you need? That's right! Fanatic U! 100% Detroit! Lions, Tigers! Fanatic U! Pistons, Red Wings! Fanatic U! Maize and blue! Green and white! Fanatic U! 100% Detroit!
Fanatic U, 100% Detroit.
Welcome back to the final segment of the inaugural episode of the Little Big Fantasy League podcast. This has gone on for a lot longer than all four of us expected, but a lot of predictions to talk about in the American League and the National League. As you've heard, if you've made it this far in the episode, there have been quite a few bold predictions that have gone on, but we'd each like to finish off the episode here with one random bold prediction for this upcoming season. Can be fantasy related, can be Major League Baseball related, doesn't matter. Joe always has the hottest takes of anybody, so I think it's only fitting that Joe starts us off here.
I think that's true. My prediction has to do with a team that is very dear to my heart, the Detroit Tigers. Is it realistic? No. Could it happen? Probably not. But in my heart, it's possible. The Detroit Tigers will have not one, two players finish in the top 10 in MVP voting.
Wow.
2 players.
2.
Can you name the two?
Scooble and Riley Green.
It's gotta be Riley.
Riley Green is one of them.
So
However, the second one is not Tariq.
really?
The second one,
Harvey Baez.
Austin
gentleman.
Meadows,
right here,
Barry Bonds.
Mr. Kerry Carpenter. Kerry's going to come out this year.
True to your
and
name.
Kerry is going to hit 40 plus tanks. 2 players, MVP voting, both Tigers. You heard it here first.
Flip it.
I can honestly see Riley Green as like a dark horse kind of candidate going into that voting. I could see it.
Yeah,
Gary's gonna
Yeah,
have
I
to
think-
left-handed pitching.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I think Hinch has to give him a chance to hit left-handed pitching.
they at
And he's
least
got to stay
are in
healthy.
spring training, right?
Hey,
I think they need to do it in the regular season.
God only knows. With that walk-up song,
That is
anything
God
crazy.
only knows.
anything is possible.
That's right.
That it is.
That's
This
That it
is
is.
my story.
it.
And the story could
Nice
be
one, Joe.
AL MVP. Who knows?
I like it.
I like it too.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to step up, and if he gets
You
more
heard it
at
here
bats,
first.
yeah, I love the card reveal too. Sponsored by Topps.
Oh, fuck.
Are we ripping a
Okay,
pack
Spots
now?
Yeah, we
I
should have an
know,
episode where we all rip a pack.
I know that we got to do
Yeah,
that.
Oh,
each person we rotate someone ripping a pack.
Yeah.
it'll happen. All right, who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go next because Joe mentioned 40 home runs. I have a similar prediction for someone. I feel like this is a hot take too, but I think Jake Berger is gonna hit 40.
Oh,
Dang.
Jakey
That's my prediction.
boy.
I think the move.
Wow.
I think the move to the Rangers. I think is
Yeah.
gonna inject him. And I think he's got it in him. I mean, he hit 34 in 2023. I just think he's got it in him.
And that offense,
Yeah.
good. Yeah, that's not
There's
bad.
not going to
I
be
can
any
see it.
pressure on him this year. I feel like last year with Miami, it's kind of like he was the only guy once they traded Jazz Chisholm. He was kind of their main guy in that lineup. So less pressure on him for sure. I mean, what a dense lineup that he gets to hit in this year.
Exactly. I'm predicting 40
Okay.
there.
I like it.
I like it, Carter.
Thank you.
All right, my bold prediction. We're going to be sitting pretty much All-Star game, maybe a few games past the All-Star game, close to the trade deadline. The Tigers will be the clear-cut favorite to win the Central. They will be in first place. They will be 5 games ahead of the second place team. And I know that we talked about their pitching depth, but they're going to have to make a move that pushes them over the edge. And to me, it's going to be a starting pitcher rather than a hitter. I could see them maybe getting a low-end hitter, but they're going to be looking for a top of the rotation kind of guy come the trade deadline. And I've got 2 names I'm going to throw out there. First is from the NL, Michael King. I could see Michael King being dealt. He had a really nice season for San Diego last year, finishing tops in NL Cy Young voting. He's underrated. He is a low contract for this season, 1-year deal with a player option for next year. So I could see Michael King coming to the Tigers at the trade deadline. My second name, and this is more of a wishful thinking, hopeful kind of prediction, but I just don't see it going well for the Seattle Mariners this year due to their lineup concerns. They have a really nice pitching staff. They have a really nice established pitching core that is under the age of 27. And so for me, a guy like Luis Castillo, who has that larger contract, could be a name that you see dealt. Would love to see him in a Tigers uniform. Kind of reminds me of the type of move that the Kansas City Royals made back in 2015 when they got Johnny Cueto. To me, Luis Castillo is that kind of guy, former Red. And I think that the Tigers are going to be looking for some pitching depth heading into the postseason, knowing that last season they had the pieces they needed, but the bullpen days I think are over. They need to have guys that can go out and throw 6-7 innings.
Yeah.
I'd love to see Castillo in Tigers uniform.
I like it.
I've seen his name float around a lot more in like trade rumors as well, so I could definitely see it happening.
Who are we trading for Castillo, huh?
Top farm system in baseball. There's, I think, a lot of guys that you could name. I think Kevin McGonigal could be somebody up there. Hyu Lee could be another name as well. I mean, there's so much depth, I think, mainly from hitting. And you're going to, at some point, be overstocked on infielders, and it's going to cause an issue. So,
Yeah.
Andrew Navigato could be another name that I could see us dealing. I think at some point you got to give up a couple guys on the farm to make a move, especially because, the Tigers did not get Alex Bregman. They need something to really push them over the edge.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You don't want to hoard them like the Orioles do, and then they have like no place to go and move to.
That's fair.
100% agree.
JD, wrap it up.
Yeah. So I already kind of talked about the Guerrero thoughts. This one's kind of just random out of left field, fun. But we're just gonna, yeah. So the good old Chicago White Sox will win 60 games this year.
Wow.
That's a 19-game win improvement.
That
Who knows?
arguably
Probably
was the
won't,
boldest take
but
of all.
just kind of fun. You know? I don't know. I was just, yeah, we'll see how that goes.
I like it. I certainly hope they don't do as bad as last year.
Yeah. Or at least they won't be the worst team in baseball. They could be second to last, but maybe not the worst team.
And you look
Who's
at
the
their,
worst?
you look at
Who's the
their
worst?
what?
Angels?
I don't know.
I think it'd
Oh,
be Angels.
no, I think the White
Marlins,
Sox
Rockies.
are worse. The Angels at least
Rockies.
added a couple of veteran guys.
Oh yeah, they did.
I'm not saying they're
I mean, you
great
can't
moves,
get
but
worse than 41 wins, right? You have to at least
There's essentially
run
nowhere
into a
to go
few
but
more.
up. Right.
Yeah.
You know, they'll have a few young guys up just playing for fun. So I have no idea. I'm probably completely wrong. I can't wait to be wrong on all of these picks. Seriously, I can't wait. But that was just a fun one that I randomly thought of. My
I like
poor
it.
White Sox fans. Sorry. Trying to give you a little hope.
It's got to be brutal being a White Sox fan.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
that's all I got. I can't think of anything else right now.
I like it. It's bold.
It is very bold. Bold move, Cotton.
see if it pays off. I guess he's still got it.
Yes, he does.
Alrighty, so before we say farewell here, we do want to mention that each week this podcast will be hosting one special guest, and we do need a single guest for next Monday, March 24th, with recording taking place at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern for you Central Zone time folks. And the first person to reach out to us will be featured as next week's special guest. And in next week's episode, we will be talking about some league predictions. We'll be talking a little bit about the Tokyo series, which will be played over the next couple of days here. So definitely excited to obviously get to the start of the season, kind of see who's jumping out in the Tokyo series to start it off, and then who's off to a hot start from a fantasy standpoint. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank everybody for watching today's episode, and never stop chasing your little big league dreams.